I like the package manager. I like the repositories. I haven't gotten to know the community yet, but I intend to. I think it would be interesting to participate in it. I like that there's like the philosophy of the repositories is like, you know, don't put the package in right away. Wait, a second. Wait a couple days to see if the new uh, version just doesn't work for whatever reason. Other other distros like Arch with their repositories is it's good, and they Arch has the best repositories of any distribution out there. Don't get me wrong. Pac-Man and the Arch repositories, that's some good shit right there. Some real good shit. But I do like how I like that Void Linux is small, the, as in the community, and it's not because it's an elite distribution. It's not hard to install. It's actually easier than Arch. You just there is like in the sense that there is a graphical installer, and it's a command line graphical installer. So there's no resources that are going away from maintaining the distribution towards that. I like that it's rolling release, so you don't need to do like a big upgrade every once in a while. You can just install it and you're good, right? I've reinstalled it once for personal reasons, which was I was just trying to like figure out uh, how I wanted to get things set up, and just fucking around with a lot of different stuff. So it would have taken longer for me to, at that point, uh, unfuck the stuff that I wanted. Well, it wasn't even fucked. It was just. I find that if you do a process and then you do it again, you do it faster the second time, right? So the first time I installed Void, I had a couple problems. I still have a problem, which I'll figure out how to do that eventually. But the first problem I was having was I wanted to use. Okay, so the way you connect to a wireless network in Void, what they ship by default is WPA supplicant, and that was kind of confusing for me. But it's actually not that hard to use. It just took me a while to figure out how to use it and how I can how to. I just didn't know how to use it, and I was like frantically looking stuff up on my phone. I should have just slowed down and read the documentation, that's something that I'm kind of learning by actually trying to understand my system and the things that are in it and how they work together and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons I installed Void. Before I was using Manjaro, which is it's Arch Easy Mode, basically. Has a graphical installer, blah, blah, blah. So I like the smallness of the community. I like the philosophy behind the way the repositories function. And it really does feel like if I if I decided to try to get involved in it, like help out, maintain packages, whatever, it seems like I could just, like, I did hear this guy who did just that. He started, like, there was something he wanted to add, and he was getting help packaging it and such. And that seems like a good community to be part of. Once I sort of, know what I'm doing, I'm trying to learn Vim, NeoVim. I'm trying to sort of figure out what programs I want to be using. I've settled on using Wayland instead of Xorg, because at this point, they've been developing it for 10 years. It's good enough now. It's especially good enough for me because I don't game, I don't play video games. And that's really like the only thing. It doesn't have like good compatibility with like NVIDIA graphics cards, and that's NVIDIA's fault. But everything else, it's all there. I kind of wanted to try out like BSP window manager or D window manager. It seems like I can't really use those, but it's whatever. I'm using Sway right now, which is it's based on i3. It's a fork of i3, and it does all the stuff you need with Wayland roots or whatever. It's i3 made for Wayland, so you can whatever. That's not the point. The point is, I feel like when I use Void, that I can trust the people who are in the community to do what's best for Void. And that really seems to be the case so far. Not that I would really know. So I installed Void to learn more. I didn't want to install Arch. Some of my friends are using Void. A few of my friends have used it. They said there's something in Void about containers. I have no idea what they meant by that. But maybe I'll figure that out someday. That sounds like some advanced stuff, which I've said before on this channel. I'm not a programmer. I'm trying to learn programming, but I'm not trying too hard. And just using Linux really does help you with that. And I don't mean just like load up Ubuntu, load up Manjaro, load up whatever. If you're not like trying to take control of your system and specifically use what things you are and like programs you're using, and trying to like maximize your workflow and everything like that. That's all stuff I'm trying to do now. That's stuff like I've been using Linux for 10 years. A bit more than that, maybe. I don't really know. And it's as long as I can remember. I remember a time before that, but the time before that, I didn't even have like my own computer, Like when I first got my own computer, the first thing I did was install Ubuntu on it. And when you're sort of a wayward youth, then you tend to gravitate towards uh, watching TV shows, watching YouTube, whatever, like not really learning stuff. I mean, some people do. Some people just sit in their fucking chair and play video games for years on end. Couldn't be me. But now I'm using Linux intentionally. I have a philosophy behind why I'm using it. I'm not just using it because it's better than Windows, and it is. It is much better than Windows. But I'm using it because I want control of my computer. I want my computer to be secure. I don't want to have to deal with any foolishness. And when you're using Void Linux, what tends to happen is, from now on, I don't want to use a piece of software if it's not in the Void Linux repository. And you know what? That is like the best way to use a Linux system compared to like a Windows system, because in Windows there's no repositories, there's no package managers. But when you're using, at least I feel like this, when you're using the Void Linux repository, the XBPS repository, you can trust that every single piece of software in there, okay, maybe not all of them, is going to be mostly free, mostly open source. I think they have like a specific repository for non-free stuff, which I haven't even bothered using that. I have like compiled a few programs off of GitHub myself, using Make or CMake or whatever. But that's why I restarted, or I reinstalled, really. I wanted to only use stuff that's in the repository. And if I want to use something that's not in the repository, I'll give back to the community by putting it there myself. And one day I'll probably do that, but today's not that day. Because everything I want to use, everything I feel like I have to use, well, I don't really feel like I have to use anything, really. I'm using Runit, I'm using Wayland, I'm using Vim, you know. I don't feel like I have to use that stuff. And yet I am. And maybe when Herd comes out, I'll start using that too, but I don't know, that's an entire like ecosystem shift, isn't it? Like, Linux shares a common ecosystem, and then once the Herd kernel comes out, it'll be like a GNU ecosystem. And we all know that Linux is really GNU plus Linux. But and I do feel better about like the Free Software Foundation compared to the Linux Foundation, for example. I don't like how Google, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, I don't remember if they all fund the Linux Foundation, but most of them do. And that's like, what is that a signifier of? Okay, so you could think about it conspiratorially. You could think, okay, this is a bribe to make the Linux Foundation be more willing to spend their time developing to make these companies rich. And you know what? That's what Linux has done all along. All along, like the modern internet in the past in the past 10 years, 15 years, I don't even know how long. The modern internet is built off of the back of Linux. Before that, it was more common to have everything built off of the back of Microsoft. But that switched at some point because Windows just sucks. Windows sucks ass, you know? It really does. And now that the entire world pretty much is built off the back of Linux, what does that mean? It means that the Linux kernel is something that has trillions of dollars of capital behind it. You might not like to hear that, but it's true. The Linux kernel is worth trillions. It is worth trillions of dollars. It's that valuable. If it stopped working tomorrow, the world would come to a halt. Everything. Everything would come to a halt as far as the internet goes. And the internet is where all the money is made now. Or at least that's like one layer of it. So, why do I use Void Linux? It's good, it's easy. You can trust it. You can't trust Linux, but you can trust Void.